Welcome to the G-Spot.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's G-Spot G28. Can you believe we've done 28 of these, Ray?
How many?
28.
28?
Yeah, imagine how many we'd have done if we'd have done it from the start.
Oh, a bit too many, especially with Gary.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, yeah, so Dynamic GT League's G-Spot. What's it all about?
That's wonderful, weird, and things that happen within the race, plus sometimes any reports that are handed in by the time of recording. Pardon me, but we'll look through them. And for educational purposes, and as we're doing it unless stated, it's from a commentary's view, not a steward or admin's.
Absolutely. And to kick us off this week, Ray, I'm just going to mention that Conrad, who wasn't able to race last week, but was able to race this week, joined us in the chat party after this week's race to just have a little chat with us, and asked him how his race went. He goes, I had a load of spins, but it's my own fault because I didn't practice, blah, 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 blah. And then we got talking about, like him and Twilight were talking about where would be a good place for them to meet up on their way down here, and whether Twilight was going to meet Connor or go over to Liverpool with Dave. And Connor says, well, Jason's going to have to be careful. He doesn't want to have a Jason moment with Dave before then, does he? And we're like, it already happened last week, mate. It's like, you what? He goes, yeah, it happened last week. So he wasn't aware of last week's You Can Fucking Walk. But we have told him about it. I've not sent him a clip of it yet, but he has been told about it. But yeah, that was quite funny. Okay, so as Ray mentioned, the G-Spot, we're going to be looking at the weird and wonderful things at DGT, but also we often sometimes talk about some other random stuff as well. And I just want for a moment, this isn't a joke, I just want for a moment, and it definitely, Ray, it's not a joke, I just want to sort of give an insight into the mind of women. Now, this is a grey of women.
You don't go there.
Well, exactly. You're married. You know not to go there, right? I'm not married. I can take that risk. But also, sometimes people have situations in their lives, like as they get older, like they may have mental health issues. Now, I'm not picking on people with mental health issues. I just want to tell a little story that gives an insight into the mind of women from the viewpoint of my mother, who did have a stroke a couple of years ago. And okay, yes, her mind sometimes doesn't work the way that everybody's would normally. But this is still a brilliant insight into the mind of the female species. So my dad took a sort of week's holiday, a week's respite, and went and stayed with my brother Art Pal up in Manchester. And while that was happening, SGP, who's also my brother, was looking after my mother for a few days, and then I looked after my mother for a few days. And during their time apart, my mother and my father, they were exchanging messages, telling each other how their days are going, telling each other how much they're missing them, and how much they love each other, and how much they can't wait to see each other. Right? And it was all very nice. And my father was due to come back on the Wednesday, and we were expecting, and he was expecting, to be leaving Manchester around about 6:30 p.m, which would have put him getting home at around about 8 to 9 o'clock, 8 to 9 p.m. However, he decided he was going to come back a little earlier. And I was aware of this. They decided on the day. I was aware that he was going to leave at about 2:30. And I thought, I won't tell my mum. She can have the surprise of him turning up a lot earlier. But anyway, as the day went on, my mum happened to mention to me that my dad had mentioned to her that he is going to be coming back early. So I was like, okay, well, that's the surprise gone, but that's okay, not a problem. So now my mother is sat there thinking, well, I've really been missing him. I really want to let him know that like he's done a really good job, and she's really sorry for doing his head in and being a pain in the arse, as women often sometimes think they can be, and that she really loves him. However, she was unhappy with the message that he had sent informing her that he was coming back early, because the message was along the lines of, just to let you know, I am going to be coming back early. So mum's like, yay, wicked. It'll help me miss the traffic, and I've also got some work that I need to do this evening, and there's a few bits I need to do before it gets too late before I get back. Now, in the man's mind, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that message. Like, see you soon, love you, no problem. In my mother's mind, it's, oh, so you want to come back early so you can do some fucking work, do you? It's not because you miss me or because you love me, it's because you want to do some fucking stuff on your computer and play your games or play with your train or whatever it is you want to do. So she sat there saying, I've been telling everybody how bloody amazing it is, and now I just want to fucking stab him. So there's an insight into the mind of the lady. And I'm like, well, no, look, he does love you. You're diabetic, and in the shopping he's bought you chocolates. Well, he normally gets me Turkish delight, and I'm like, well, he's got you these though. And then eventually I find the Turkish delight, and I'm like, see, he does love you. And she's like, oh yeah, he does. But I am diabetic, so he's just trying to fucking poison me. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You can never win.
No, absolutely, you can never win. So there we go. Right, onto the G, shall we? And if anyone wonders why I'm single, that is one of the many reasons. Yeah, name of my sex tape. In and out. Thank you very much. Right, okay, so let's get ready for this first one then. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. G1, Race 7 report. Space is a gift that is given, not taken. So, Ray, would you like to, before we do get into the footage, would you like to let us know what the report is, and then we can have a look at this just as commentators, not admins or stewards?
The report is I wasn't given enough room on the corner exit.
Okay. Right, well, I guess we should have a look at this because I've no idea who it's from or what it's about. Okay, so, get ready for this. It's going to happen quickly. Oh, shit, I've pressed the wrong button. Hang on. That's the name of my sex tape. Get ready for this. It's going to happen quickly. Oh, Jesus. The things that have bringing up this, like, that's the name of your sex tape. It's because I watched all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine recently. But anyway, okay, so onto the footage in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, Art Pal made a move on Dave by the looks of it, got Connor behind him. So where are we? We're into the penultimate corner, now we're heading into the final corner. Connor goes up the inside, a little bit of touch there. Oh, Art Pal gets a little bit sideways, nudges Dave a bit. So can't really see a lot of what's going on there. So we'll go from this view on Art Pal. Connor up the inside. Maybe Connor does run a little deep. Not a lot of space left on the exit there. So let's look from Connor. I'd say he's within fair range to have a look, definitely. Up the inside he goes. Okay. couple of parts there. We'll have a look from Dave's view. I mean, we may get to look at this in a little bit of slow motion at the moment. I can't remember. Dave's sort of wobbling all over the road a little bit. Yeah, so let's have a look from here. I mean, Connor's not quite made the apex. Yeah, I mean, not a lot in that. Okay, so slow-mo here. So I'd say Connor's within fair range. So, say again?
I said agree.
Agree. You agree to agree. Okay, Art Pal's sort of turning in. I mean, whether he knows he's there or not, it's hard to tell if Art Pal's heading for the apex or not. I don't know, but obviously there's a bit of contact here. There's a tricky moment here for me, which once there's this bit of contact, I don't know how much Connor may or may not be able to steer. I don't know, because he has missed the apex a bit. Is that because he's gone deep? I don't know. He has got a lot of steering lock on. So this is where we normally would say, right, okay, leave space on the edge of the track. So this is what we'd be looking for now. I'm concerned, though, at about this point, it may look on Conrod's radar that is ahead on the triangles. And technically, you could say, as there's this little bit of contact there, Conrod is all the way to the edge of the track. And maybe not left Art Pal the space there. There's not a huge amount in this, I don't think, but it will be interesting to see what the view is of the stewards eventually. It'd be interesting to see what your commentator's view is, Ray.
Yeah, there's not a lot in it, as you say, but yeah, did Harpal turn in on him, or was Conrad going too deep? I don't know. We don't have the information on that, but by looking at it and commenting on it, like there's been a contact and there's been no space left at the edge, so commentator would say there wasn't space left there, but there's so many factors that the stewards would look into that they would come in with a more in-depth view.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not one that I think is... I don't think it's one of those where people could look at it and go, oh, well, he's made an absolute mare of a mistake there. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the steward's view is on that when they get to it. Now, what I will do is I will insert an update of what the stewards do decide about that, because as I mentioned, it has been reported. Yeah, so we'll go. I'll go through that at the time. Okay, so confirmation then of the steward's report. Conrad moves up the inside of Art Pal at the final corner. There is minor contact mid-corner before Conrad takes the racing line on the exit and moves ahead. The steward's verdict is that it's a racing incident, no penalty. Conrad was within fair range to make the overtake, and the stewards felt that neither driver was to blame for the minor contact mid-corner. Conrad didn't leave enough space for Art Pal on the exit, but the contact just before that briefly prevented Conrad's car from turning and potentially being able to leave more space. So the stewards feel it would be harsh to give Conrad a penalty in this instance. And what I'm going to do in a moment is we'll have another look at a bit of the footage in slow motion just to explain what it is that the stewards have seen and the reason for the decision that they've made. Right, so as previously mentioned, Conrad within fair range to go for the move. So we're going to look at this in slow motion now. And what we'll see is Conrad's car is going to take a slightly later turn in towards the apex of the corner. Art Pal will be turning in before Conrad does. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. There's no reason why Conrad can't do what he does. So Conrad's turning in a little bit, Art Pal turning in a bit more. The cars are then going to make a bit of contact front wheel to front wheel. You'll see Conrad's car was turning left, now turns left a tiny bit more. Now the rear parts of the car touch and Conrad's car ends up going straight on just here. So it's kind of like the cars have pivoted against each other, potentially resulting in Conrad not being able to be further over to the left-hand side. So this is why the stewards have seen that, although yes, at this point Conrad would appear to not have left Art Powell enough room, we do feel that it is caused from the contact prior to that, and that no one was really at fault for that contact. Conrad was absolutely fine to turn in when he did, and Art Powell understandably turned in, and that's one of those bits of contact where drivers just have to go, you know what, it can happen. So there you go, and that's the steward's views. So I reckon now we just move on to the next one. Are you ready?
Yep.
Oh, actually, before we do, I just want to mention the population of Ireland's capital city is really growing. In fact, it's Dublin.
Okay.
Okay, in the next one, in 3, 2, 1, let's go. G2, race 6, Gary. Well, it wouldn't be the G-Spot with the OG. So, Gary and Bob, we saw them battling, didn't we, in the race through that corner of Glories and then up to the corkscrew. Now, I don't know how much we'll see on this view. Yeah, we don't really see a lot. Bit of a wobble for Gary there. Now, that's the view that I know you would have had on the race, Ray. What I will say is these two battling through that left-hand corner, beautifully done. Now we get to the corkscrew.
Oh, he's cut the Bob's not really left the room, has he?
Yeah, I would say it's like, ooh, okay. Now, and this isn't a report. This was one that was mentioned just to have a look at on the G-Spot, which I think is definitely worth looking at because I think everything up to this point is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And then just at that last bit, it's kind of a...
Bob should have been more left.
Yeah. So the camera may do some wappy things here, by the way, folks, because I was nodding off when I was editing this bit together, so I don't know what it's going to do. But this bit, absolutely fine. All's good. Now, what I did wonder is what Bob's view of the corner may have been, or what Gary's view of the corner may have been. It's possible that Bob may not have been able to see that he wasn't going to be leaving Gary the space, because even from this view, I mean, we can only just see Connor. So it's possible that he didn't realise until this point, or a little later, that he's pinching him. But, yeah. I mean, some might say, well, Gary's gone off on his own. I'd have to have another look at it in that respect. But what we're going to have a quick look here, though, is a bit like we did with Hay at Monza. We're going to have a quick look to see if Bob has been able to leave Gary a car's width at the edge of the track. Well... I don't think you can even fit a Matchbox car in there.
He's on the actual edge of the track. His tyres are on the curb, so there's not even a cover.
There isn't. I mean, I am... Not that people are going to be able to see it. I am going to go back and just have a quick look at this. I want to just look and see if I think maybe Gary was off anyway, if you know what I mean, or whether he was sort of forced into that position.
I don't think he was going off because he was turning in.
Yeah, I don't think he was going off either. Well, I think you said he. Did you agree that
he was turning in? I don't think he was going off.
Yeah,
he's even keeping like the way he should be working it, and then there comes Bob.
Yeah. So I don't think Gary's sort of gone off on his own. I think Bob may not have been aware that either Gary was still there or that he's that close to the edge of the track. But that's why we do the G-Spot, isn't it? To help educate. So Bob, remember, these cars are not the width of a Matchbox car. But yeah, an interesting one though, because I know at the time, Ray, during the race, I think you mentioned...
I thought it was Gary that...
the wobble on the dip.
Yeah, it was his wobble and it did, but till I seen that, see? Commentators, that's all we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So even though I've said blame Bob, maybe there's other factors. I mean, sometimes there are many different factors involved in every situation. I mean, even when I worked at a school as head janitor, I had to fire one of my junior janitors for smoking pot, for smoking weed, and I was asked by my then partner why I would do that, why I would fire them just because they smoked weed. And I said, well, because I can't stand high maintenance people.
Okay.
Move on to the next. Oh, I just sort of remembered another story. Right, okay. Another insight into the mind of my mother. I know this has turned into a bit of a weird segment here, but this is funny. This is to do with my mother and her relationship with that Google device that listens to you. I don't really want to say the name because then it's going to start speaking to me. You know the one I'm on about begins with A, ends in Exa, or Lexa. Okay, so my mother is getting into bed and she likes listening to calming sounds when she goes to bed. It's understandable, I do. So she's lying in bed and Alexa, give me some suggestions for relax. Oh, Alexa, shut up. Give me some recommendations for relaxing sounds to go to sleep with. And she's like, whale songs, ocean, babbling brook. And my mum was like, oh, that one. Babbling. And I was like, what you saying? Babbling fuck? And then Alexa went, oh, Alexa, shut up. Stop. Then that device went, playing Babbling Brook. I was like, what the? So I went, babbling fuck, and it played Babbling Brook. Now my mum's laughing so much she's nearly fucking wet the bed. Eventually the Babbling Brook starts playing, and what does it sound like? It just sounds like someone's left a fucking tap on. So it's like, yeah, we're not having that on, otherwise we're going to end up cleaning fucking piss up from everywhere. But yeah, so there we go. Anyway, we'll go on to the next one, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get ready in 3, 2, 1, let's go. G3, race 6, squeeze me, baby, when I lose control. Okay, so.
Tease with G's, my baby.
Oh, yeah. So, Art Pal heading down into turn 1, and here comes Jason. And, yeah, not a lot there, really, that we can see. Now, we did see this on the race footage, but let's have a quick look. This has been brought to our attention to be looked at on the G-Spot. So Art Pal does go a bit deep into one, a little bit of contact between the two of them, a little bit more contact there. I think I can understand why someone may ask for this to be looked at in the G-Spot. So Jason, well, I don't think he's really done much wrong there. It's not like he's gone for a late move, a bit of bumping on the exit, not like it. So, a couple of questions. Is he within fair range, Ray?
To begin with, no, but Art Pal goes deep.
Absolutely. Correct answer. Well done. Yeah, Jason isn't going for this overtake. Art Pal gets to this point, turning in. Now he's on the dirty bit, he's going deep. Jason still isn't going for an overtake, he's just going for the corner. And this is one of those situations where this is a different.
Two lanes meet, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, Art Pal has made an error going into the corner, which opens up a situation where Jason just driving the track in the way he has, doing nothing wrong, puts him now in a position where he's side by side. So now this is where Jason can actually be expecting to be left some room, but should also be expecting that Art Pal may not realise he's there. Art Pal should be leaving Jason some room, but also we could understand if he didn't realise that Jason was there. Has then space been left on the exit of the corner? That was kind of the one.
I think Jason had a wee lock up as well and understeered as well. a wee bit in the first part of the corner.
Maybe. I'll get onto that in a moment. Remind us. So coming to the exit of the corner, there's not a lot of room there, but I think we can see that Jason he's turning left. He's trying to move away from Art Pal. So I think I'd say Jason is trying to do all the right things here. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot in it, but I don't mind that it's been asked for us to have a look at it because it's a bit of an interesting one. Now, I've waffled through that quite quick. I'm going to get your views, Ray, and then there is a few other things I do want to mention about it. So give us your view on that.
So the initial Art Pals went deep. So Jason's kind of went for his normal racing. But I think I could see a wee bit of a lock up and Jason straightens up. And so that adds to the first part of contact where Art Pal's kind of coming back across and Jason's, because he's had that little lock up, he's not as tight to the apex.
Yeah. Okay, I want
the line isn't as tight, but there's still a card width on each side, so there's still plenty of room.
I want to come in on that bit because what I want to sort of bring into that equation is, could it be understandable that the following car could have a bit of a moment of locking up, a little bit of understeer, because they're approaching that corner thinking everything's going to be normal, then they see that car going deep and it can put you off, and you then can have a little bit of a moment yourself.
Yeah, that's always going to happen.
Bit like in F1 when drivers go, he blocked me, well, he fucking didn't. He's halfway up the road, but what he did do is he put you off. Yeah.
The people are going to, it's a distraction, isn't it?
That's it, a distraction, yes.
Yeah, so the distraction might have got a wee bit of Jason, because you can see he kind of has a lock. I think it's a lock up, or he's just straightening up a wee bit, and then they're coming together. Jason's kind of following the rubber of the track, the rubber of the track that's laid down, and there's a wee bit of contact made, but our pal's got more track on his side than Jason has, and then the second one is just unfortunate. I don't think it's meant. I think Jason might have thought, oh, there's enough room there. Shit, I've touched him. And then you can see how hard he tries to divert to the left, because he shoots a wee bit to the left. It's like, oh fuck.
Absolutely. Well, they're those minor details that, I mean, we're looking at this as commentators, but they're those minor details that, as a steward, I would be looking at that and going, okay, yeah, he's not in fair range. However, that kind of goes out the equation on this one because Art Pal goes deep, makes a mistake. That puts Jason in play. So the move is on then. And then it's those, are both drivers doing the right things? And that's where I'd look at it and go, Jason is definitely trying to give Art Pal that. And as soon as Jason has that little bit of contact that perhaps squeezes Art Pal a bit to the right, he's moving away. He's moving away, trying to give him the space. Now, luckily for Jason, there is a bit of curb there that Art Pal can use. Does that come in under the conversation, which I'm sure will crop up a few times, about what curb is part of a normal racing line? This is one of those things that, because we've mentioned it, like when a curb is part of a normal racing line, it's something that will crop up again and again and again, and I have no problem discussing that, because it gives us the opportunity of going, well, you wouldn't normally put your car in that position on that curb because there's a risk if you go over it. But I know for me personally, I don't mind if I put my wheels on that exit curb. Now, would I want someone squeezing me onto it? No, not at all. But if that was me and Jason, I could look at it and go, okay, this would be an interesting one to have a look at on the G-Spot, because Jason is doing everything he can to give me the space. And if that curb hadn't have been there, I probably would have got sucked off, and not by the type of blonde Swede that I want.
Yeah, and I think it's a wee bit of, it's not a walk up from Jason. It's just a wee bit of understeer.
Should understeer.
Mid corner. I'm just looking back at it from Jason and watching.
I mean, I'm just wondering whether a slight different a thought has just come into my mind. Definitely not the name of my sex tape. Which is, I've pictured it from sort of Jason's perspective. I went through the process of picturing it from Art Pal's perspective. You're heading up to that corner. You know Jason's way too far back to attempt to move, and Jason isn't attempting to move. You make a mistake. You go deep, easily done. Then as you're going around the corner, if perhaps Art Powell feels that Jason has nudged him a couple of times, maybe he's wondering if it could perhaps be a bit of a push to pass or a bit too much contact for the overtake, which I could kind of understand. But I think if I was to look at it as a potential stewarding view, I'm thinking because it's not a normal situation, like the fair range is out of the equation, because it's an overtaking opportunity that arises through a driver making an error. Not to say that means that whatever happens is fine, but it opens up a different branch of scenarios of overtaking where other things may happen. Like a little bit of contact, where as a steward we may go, well, given these circumstances, there's a little bit of contact there, but no harm, no foul, don't worry about it, carry on. However, if it had been a normal overtaking situation and Jason had gone for that move up the inside and there'd been some contact, maybe that contact would be viewed differently. I don't know if I've explained myself exactly how I would want to there, but hopefully I have. Anyway, so you weren't listening, which is fine. You were looking at something.
I'm just going over the footage.
Mm-hmm.
Try to see if it's very minimal. And the contact actually happens before the exit curb. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't think there'd be any action taken from it, would there?
No. I don't think there will. And
well, there won't be because it's not a report.
Yeah. Your question if it was an overtaking situation, would it been seen as a push to pass? I don't think so.
No. I think SGP likes the term racing contact, doesn't he? And sometimes contact can happen. And I think in this scenario, with these set of circumstances, yeah, I would take the contact there as shit can happen. And Jason has been trying to do the right thing, so yeah. I mean, I'd be concerned if Jason wasn't trying to turn and just proper forced him over the edge of the road. That's a completely different scenario. Or if Jason did accidentally punt somebody off the track and then waited for everybody other than the person he punted off the track. Don't know where I saw that. Don't tell me you don't remember last week. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I thought I was talking to myself for a minute then.
Oh, leave that.
No, I'm on about Jason punting you off and waiting for everybody other than you.
All right.
Yeah. Can I say he did forget?
He must have had a punting time.
Well, oh yeah, absolutely. I wonder what punting is. Alexa, what is punting in Swedish? No, not pumping. I'm sure she just went cunting. Alexa, what is punting in Swedish?
In Swedish is
Okay, punting in Swedish is cunting. Cunting. That's the name of his sex tape. Should we move on? Because I want to order a kebab soon. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. G4, corkscrewed, late braking and what it means. This is the special feature, Ray. We're going to have a look at people's braking points and minimum speeds and apexes. Steve F1 lifts off early, then brakes, minimum speed 62 mile an hour, exit speed 74 mile an hour. Demon R lifts a little later, brakes a little earlier than Steve F1, apex speed minimum 60 mile an hour. What's his exit speed? 80 mile an hour. SGP brakes or lifts off a lot later, brakes a lot later, 54 miles an hour. What's his exit speed? 76 miles an hour. Twilight comes off the throttle, about the same as SGP actually. I have got some notes on this as well. What's his minimum speed? Oh, he's had a wobble. Minimum speed 52 miles an hour. Exit speed of 58. Twilight was very late on the brakes. Bob, very, very late on the brakes. What's his apex speed? Oh, well, 33 mile an hour. He's not quite at that at the apex. Exit speed 59 mile an hour. Bob braked very late. Jason on the brakes, not as late as Bob. Apex speed 40 miles an hour, but Jason is affected by Bob here. 61 mile an hour exit speed. Dave the Harp. Now he's off throttle, but goes down 2 gears before he's on the brakes. Interesting point. 62 miles an hour for Dave and an exit speed of 79 miles an hour. Gary. Very, very late on the brakes, I believe, for Gary. Or not that late, but late-ish. 58 miles an hour. Goes a bit deeper than others. 73 mile an hour exit speed. Art Palu's behind him. Very, very late on the brakes. Like, very, very late on the brakes. What's his minimum speed? 40 miles an hour. Missed the apex. Exit speed 73 miles an hour. Conrad. He's also downshifting before he's on the brakes once he's lifted off. What's his minimum speed? 57, misses the apex a bit. What's his exit speed? Also he's in first gear, 79 miles an hour. Rich Blues. Let's see, Rich does brake quite late. Quite late. 50 miles an hour speed in second gear. 73 miles an hour exit speed for Rich Blues. Now I know that all happened very, very quickly there. Now Ray, if you or anybody else wants to go back and watch those different bits, please do. Now you'll notice that the video clips actually stopped at the point the driver lifted off and then stopped again at the point the drivers pressed the brakes. So there were different points for many of the drivers where, like Steve F1 lifted early, braked at a point many would brake at, but he'd already scrubbed off for a lot of speed. That's part of his fuel saving. But also, if you have a look, Ray, what gear was Steve F1 in?
Steve F1, second gear.
And at the exit of the corner?
Second gear.
Oh, right, okay, on that occasion, second gear, fair enough. In many laps, he was actually going into the left-hander in second gear, and then before he's going down the hill, he's already in third. So the way he was driving through that corner, very different to many others. Now, I know we went through that very, very quickly there, but I mean, you may be wondering why we're looking at this. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Ray, as we've sort of thrashed through that without warning?
I don't know about it's got screwed, so was it people's like braking that's screwing them over, or?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. You know what? we might go through this again in a second. Okay, so basically, yes, it's those that braked late, their minimum speed was considerably lower than those that braked earlier, right? But not only that, those that braked late, their apex was nowhere near the first apex. Like, they were ending up over on the right-hand side of the track, whereas those that braked early were able to hit the left-hand apex and drive through the right-hand corner. So those that braked late, their minimum speeds were... Okay, so look at it. Twilight braked quite late, 52 mile an hour. Bob, very, very late, 33 mile an hour. Jason, behind Bob, was at 40, but was perhaps avoiding him a bit. Now, Dave... I just don't know. I'll get on to Dave in a moment. Art Pal braked very, very late, 40 mile an hour. Connor, very late, 57 mile an hour. And Rich braked a bit late at 50 mile an hour. But they also equate to those that braked late had the slower exit speeds as well. So...
It's because they're trying to get their car under control and get around the corner. That'll be a bit more tighter because as they've braked late and they've not made the apex, they're having to turn their wheel more, so they're not on the accelerator as quickly.
Yep. Okay, so the highest, lowest speeds was 62 mile an hour, which was Steve F1 and Dave the Harp. The highest high speed on the exit of the corner was 80 mile an hour by Demon R. Now, Dave the Harp, who had one of the fastest minimum speeds, his exit was 79 miles an hour. Which was really good. Steve F1's was 74 miles an hour. Now, to put that into perspective, Twilight, his minimum was 52, his exit 58. So he's 22 miles an hour slower on the exit than Demon R at 80 mile an hour. Bob, 33 on the way in, 59.
He just fucked up.
Well, yeah, he did. 59 on the way out. Jason, 40, 61. Let's see, Gary, he had 58 on the way in, but 73 on the way out, not bad. Art Pal was very late on the brakes, 40 on the way in, 73 on the way out. So his exit speed wasn't bad, but he lost a load of time on the way into the corner. And Rich Blues was 50 and 73. So one of the reasons that I've done this, I mean, it was mentioned to me to have a look into it, but not how. I've gone with this way because although we've not looked at how much time people have lost, these numbers equate to time. You would sound like you was going to say something then.
Yeah, time. It's a waste of life.
Absolutely.
You wasted all the time and you'll have the time of your life.
Oh, yeah, that's your quote on Discord, yeah. But yeah.
That's a quote that a guy gave to Billy Connolly, and Billy's made it famous.
I did not know that. I thought you was just having a midlife crisis. But yeah, I mean, these numbers, it does equate to the lower the minimum speed, the more time you're losing. So braking late doesn't mean quick. Right. I think that's that one done. Okay, so before we move on to the next one, I've got a little riddle for you, Ray. Yeah, that excitement. It is. Oh. Jess works at a butcher's. She's 5'9", wears size 5 shoes, but what does she weigh?
I don't know.
I shall ask you again. Jess works at a butcher's. She's 5'9", wears size 5 shoes, but what does she weigh?
5 stone.
5 stone? No, she weighs meat! Sausages, steaks, burgers. Yeah. 5 stone. I like the way you got 5 stone. Why 5 stone? Is it because 5'9", 5 shoes? Okay. Well, should we move on to the next one?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Gee whiz! Practiced fuel saving versus no practice fuel saving versus no practice pissing away fuel. Okay, we're going to have a look at Steve F1. Now, we're not going to hear the audio while we're reviewing this. The viewers will. This is Steve F1 and how he has driven a fuel-saving lap around Laguna Seca. He's short-shifted, he's in high gears, he's nice and smooth, there's no tyre squealing, I don't think. He's comfortable. Yeah, he's comfortable on his revs. I mean, he's up into 5th gear, doing this corner in 3rd, even though it's a recommended 2nd gear. He's up into 4th early-ish, up to 5th, back down to 4th for the left-hander. It's all looking very comfortable. Let's see how he copes with the corkscrew. Lifts off, bit of brakes, downshift, 2nd gear, up to 3rd, stable, only goes full throttle on the exit, short shift to 4th, little lift, to go up to 5th. Oh, I've pressed the button. Yeah, he's gone up to 5th. Press pause, right? Sorry. I pressed the button and it went back to the start of the video. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so I'm currently at 27:22 on the game screen clock in the bottom corner, and I'm going to continue from there. Are we ready? I'll let you get back to that point if you want.
27, 22.
Yeah. Okay, so apologies for that. So we'll carry on in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So yeah, he's short shifted to 4th. He'll go up to 5th. Is he going to do 4th gear? Yeah, 4th gear, where others may do 2nd gear for that corner. The hairpin, usually 1st gear corner. Steve F1 doing it comfortably in 2nd gear. And he's doing this with the engine on rich as well. So a nice fuel saving lap from Steve, but also now we're going to do, this is the same lap, but from Demon R, who thinks he's fuel saving. Goes up to 5th, but much later. He is down into 2nd, tied to 1st apex. Full throttle, perhaps a bit earlier. Changes up to 3rd a bit later. It goes down to 2nd for this corner. Steve F1 was in 3rd. So what gear? Holds 3rd for this right-hander. Steve F1 did it in 4th, I believe. Now Steve F1 got up. Go on.
Demon R is at fuel saving. He's revs.
Yeah, well, he's using 3rd gear through this corner. It's the 2nd gear corner, so he is potentially saving some fuel, but he is, as you said, he's using more revs. Is he going to get up to 5th gear up the hill? Maybe a lift and coast. No, 5th is a lift and coast down to 2nd gear. Stays in 2nd gear using the revs. Short shift to 4th, so there is a bit of fuel saving going on here, but not as much as Steve F1, down to 3rd. Steve F1 did this corner in 4th. Into the final corner, and down to 1st gear. So that lap there is the difference between someone who's practiced fuel saving around to this track and somebody who hasn't. Now we'll have a look at somebody who's done no practice whatsoever on the same lap, lap 22. So here's Conrad, absolutely revving the tits off it. Maybe even a little bit of tyre squealing as he gets a little bit. So 1st gear through turn 2, 3rd gear, 2nd through this right-hander. So similar to Demon R, but I think using a bit more revs. Does he hold 3rd? Yeah, little lift, full throttle, and he's still holding 3rd all the way to the top end of the range. Steve F1 was in 5th there. Connor's gone down to 2nd, tighter way in, gives better steering, faster exit, uses more fuel. Up to 4th, holds 4th for the left-hander, Glorious, nicely done, gaining on Demon R. What's he going to do here? Is he going to lift and coast? No, he's off the throttle and on the brakes at the same time. No lift and coast, holds 2nd gear, does short shift a bit to 3rd, but doesn't short shift to 4th, just lifts, and is faster than Demon R at this point, but he is using more fuel. Goes up to 4th, down to 2nd early, and down into 1st. And then short shift to 2nd on the exit there, but then uses all of the rev range 2nd, 3rd, and on. So 3 identical, very different laps.
But what? I'm confused because
Go on.
you're at 26 to 30 minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
Connor's not saving fuel, so it's not as if he's trying to save fuel. So
I know.
I'm like, wait a minute. Connor's
He's not saving fuel. Yeah.
He's
Now,
not wanting to save fuel.
I know.
Like he's gone hell for leather. And I
yeah.
was like,
Well, that's why it's practiced fuel saving versus not practiced fuel saving versus pissing fuel away. So basically, Connor is not in fuel save mode. But I wanted to show that. What I wanted to show is how could Steve F1 have done 21 minutes on a tank of fuel, or that last 19 minutes on 90% of fuel, compared to me doing that last, it wasn't 19 minutes, was it 17 minutes, whatever it was, and I had more fuel but nearly ran out, and Steve F1 did. I wanted to show the difference of how Steve F1 could fuel save and how he's done it compared to how I thought I was fuel saving compared to somebody who was not fuel saving at all. So that's what, although it was identical, the only identical part of the laps was the fact that it was all lap number 22. Now, I have literally just picked that lap kind of at random, but it gave the perfect perspective. Connor's in a situation where he doesn't need to save fuel because he knows he's going to pit again. But I believe Connor will have driven a similar way to that all the way through the race, whereas I drove a similar way to what I did most of the way through the race, and I thought I was saving some fuel and I was pretty quick and actually felt I could go faster. So as we saw, Connor was catching me up. I felt I could go quicker, but I knew if I did, I would be using those lower gears, using all of those revs and burning up the fuel. Steve F1 knew from lap 1, if he drives the laps like he did that lap there, he can make that fuel last and still do 1 minute 12 lap times. And that's how he's done it. So, there we go. I thought potentially fascinating insight into Steve F1's fuel saving. And although I could have just spent like an hour showing Connor spinning, I thought I'd actually just show him doing a fairly quick lap. But also, I mean, I know I couldn't hear it while I was talking over it. I don't know if you had any audio on. For anyone that was listening to it, feel free to have another listen. Because listen to the tyres. Because this is a factor that isn't shown here, because the tyre wear is not an issue in these cars on this tyre setting, but listen to the tyres. Steve F1 has pretty much zero tyre squeal. I have almost zero tyre squeal. Connor's yet Connor has considerably more tyre squeal. And what does tyre squeal equate to?
Heating or overheating the tyres.
And more wear. It's overheating the tyres, it's scrubbing the tyres across the road, and it's going to result in more wear. So if you're using tyres or tyre wear rating that is more aggressive, driving like Steve F1 did, means not only can you save fuel, but you can also save your tyres. So Steve F1 could do consistently quick lap times while looking after tyres, whereas Connor could do rapid lap times, and then his tyres are going to die, and he's not going to have the grip to get around the corners. And so, yeah, I think it's a fascinating insight into the car characteristics in that respect.
And an educational.
Absolutely. And on that bombshell, it's time to go back to the studio.
Yeah, we're going to squeal away.
Squeal away. Whose sex tape is that the name of? Dave the Arps. I only say that because he squeals tyres. Right, I need to order myself a kebab. I'm starving. So thank you for watching, listening, folks. Thank you, Ray, for joining us on the G-Spot.
Yeah. Thank
Uh,
you very much.
You're
We'll
very
see you
welcome.
next time.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody. I will see you all again soon.